Hey folks, how we doing? Happy Tuesday evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandajis. I hope you're all nestled in at home, staying nice and warm on what has been the coldest day in over 2 years. Yeah, the last time we had highs in the 20s here in Hampton Roads was Christmas Eve of 2022. And now we've got the snow. That's flying. Check out radar right now. It started off very dry outside, and then we really saturated the lower levels of the atmosphere quite fast, considering dew points were in the single digits. It only took us a couple of hours, and now we're starting to see the snow almost everywhere, reporting light to moderate snow, and accumulations are happening fast. So this is a look at radar right now as we join you at 9 o'clock here on this Tuesday evening. Just for your reference, if you are joining us right now, and I would love to hear your observations, where you're located. I do have a post on my Facebook page about this stream, and if you can post under it what you're seeing where you live and the time that you're posting the observation. It really helps us to kind of validate what we're seeing on radar, especially in a situation like this where at the ground level it's very dry. In some areas it's snowing. You go a mile down the road, it's still not snowing just yet because the atmosphere there hasn't fully saturated. So it's very hit or miss for a little while until we see blanketed snow almost everywhere. I want to point something out for you here on radar. First, we'll do a loop. I want to go back 2 hours, and you'll notice something kind of interesting here. Look out where you see there's kind of a gap in the radar coverage. That's closer to our radar site. That is out in Wakefield. That's the National Weather Service radar site that you can see me circling here. So the reason why at the start of this, in fact, let me just go all the way back to that time. We'll go back 2 hours to 7 o'clock. And you can see there's a large area surrounding the center of that radar dome, the radome. What happens with the radar is when it leaves the radar dome, it shoots at an elevation to account for terrain and things like that, curvature of the Earth. And as it gets farther away from the radar site, it gains altitude, right? So what you're seeing here is the radar beam has to get to a certain altitude before it's even sensing any precipitation, in this case, snow. So it's not picking up on anything reaching the ground, okay? So the air at this point is not saturated. It's very dry. But as we go forward in time, I go up 2 hours, notice how it contracts and shrinks. And that's the atmosphere saying, okay, we're moistened up, ready to snow. And that's exactly what happened. Almost right at 8 o'clock, it started snowing in a lot of locations. Some spots were much earlier, especially down through the Outer Banks, where I had reports around 4 o'clock this afternoon of snow already on the ground there. And that will be the ground zero for the highest snow totals this go around, which is kind of an inverse of what we normally see, right? Usually we look towards Richmond to the northwest for those higher totals. The peninsulas, the eastern shore usually win out. Not this go around. Now, as we pause things here on radar, I also want to bring to your attention, you see this band here that's setting on up of darker blue radar returns. That is heavier snowfall rates. And you've heard us talking a lot over the past couple days of the atmospheric setup with this particular winter storm is one that favors an all-snow event. Temperatures are certainly cold enough. We're in the upper teens and lower 20s right now. The threat of any mix is out of the question. It's not happening. It's snow everywhere. But also with a dry Arctic air mass in place, we're going to see something called very high snow ratios. And I've got a cool graphic here. Taylor Stephenson did a great explainer, if you saw our 6 o'clock newscast, explaining exactly what that means when we have different levels of moisture and different temperature profiles on how that will contribute to a different snow to water liquid content, okay? So this go around, we're looking at our air temperatures in the upper teens and lower 20s. So in a typical situation, 1 inch of liquid correlates roughly to 10 inches of snow. That's when temperatures are right around 30, 31, just below the freezing mark, okay? An ideal snow setup. Now, when you get temperatures that are colder, dew points that are lower, you're going to get drier snow, and you're going to be able to squeeze out a lot more snowfall accumulation from lower moisture content. So in this type of atmospheric setup, when we get an inch of water or liquid, that would usually correlate now to a higher snow ratio of 1 to 15 or 1 to 20 inches of snow. Now, we're not forecasting an inch of water equivalent. Well, some of you would love that. I would love that personally. That would put us out 15 to 20 inches of snow. Not happening, but we're forecasting about a fifth to a quarter of an inch of liquid. So that would correlate to roughly 3 to 5 to maybe 6 inches of snow, especially in areas closer to the coast that are seeing these higher snowfall rates for a longer period of time. It's a very fluffy, powdery, light type of snow. So this is good news if you do have to remove it from your car windshield in the morning, if you have to shovel some sidewalks. You can even get the leaf blower out and just blow off the sidewalks and driveways. It's going to be that type of light, powdery type of snow. Not the best snowball or snowman making snow, but hey, a win's a win, right? We'll take it. All right, let's go back over to radar because I want to play this out again for you and show you how this band of heavier snowfall rates that we are seeing here, that was set up along the Albemarle Sound and then is lifted on through Elizabeth City and is now approaching the state line and is pushed into southern Chesapeake and southern Virginia Beach. Now, if you are watching from there, I would love to hear what you're seeing. If you could stick your head outside and see if your snowfall rates have picked up and also what accumulations you're looking at. Because what's interesting this go around as well is that since we are so cold, since we've been cold and below freezing for over 24 hours now, the ground is frozen solid. So immediately when it started snowing, it started to accumulate. We're not losing any of that snow to melting on ground contact. That's unusual for Hampton Roads, especially for the entire area to be dealing with a snow setup like this. So it's very, very interesting and also very awesome that we're getting that for Team Snow Lovers, right? So let me pause it again and get a zoom in here of what's going on at Southside. I just stepped out the door before we started this stream here off Brambleton Avenue in Norfolk, and we have been snowing. I marked it at 7:50. When I walked outside, it was snowing then. Very, very light, tiny flakes, but our intensity has picked up because we are starting to see our higher snowfall rates lifting north, and even if I put it in motion here over the last hour, you can see that that darker blue is gradually lifting its way to the north and northwest. Now, also an interesting thing to bring up here. I know I'm going to jump all over the place here, but we're going to be streaming for a while. So I hope you're tucked in and you're ready to join me because we're going to talk a lot about the snow. This storm has already verified farther north and west. Remember, if you've been following me for the last couple of days, we had talked about, starting late last week, of the potential of seeing this winter event. And models were really bullish on showing heavy snows over Hampton Roads. And then, very quickly, it drifted to the south and east and was looking like we weren't going to see anything for a day or two. And then models corrected. They fell into climatological norms, which this time of year, we tend to see that kind of jog and tick back to the north and west as we get closer to the event. And that's exactly how it's played out here. In fact, it's overperformed a little bit compared to what models were even indicating just earlier today. So the Weather Service here has been playing a little bit of catch up. They've been on top of the winter storm warnings. They did highlights Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and Portsmouth in northeastern North Carolina for the greatest threat for accumulating snows or significant accumulations. Now, to satisfy a winter storm warning, the criteria is 3 inches of snow within 12 hours or 4 inches within 24 hours. I think we'll easily do that in all of the areas that are under the winter storm warning. Now, what's a change in just the last hour was the addition of more winter weather advisories farther west and inland, which originally the back edge of the snow wasn't forecast to make it up to Richmond. And it did. It was snowing at Richmond International Airport within the last hour, and they may pick up a quick inch of snow. We're supposed to pick up any snow, so it has already verified farther to the north and west, which gives me confidence that we will see higher snowfall rates for a longer period of time here, especially in those areas that are highlighted with the winter storm warnings, where you can see that darker blue shading there. Let me go back again 2 hours. See that top northwest edge of that snow line? It reached all the way up in the far western portions of, far eastern portions of Louisa County. That's how far northwest it stretched. Models had this barely getting past Williamsburg. So that's an overperformance right there. And we've got a band of very heavy snow setting on up, almost oriented from the southwest to the north and east. And you can see it jogging north and lifting in the south side. So where it's snowing right now, expect those snowfall rates to pick up. And we're going to pick up the brunt of our accumulations over the next couple of hours. By the way, speaking of those accumulations, I've made a few little tweaks to our snowfall map here, just expanding our inch up to an inch snowfall up just to around the east end of Richmond, up through Williamsburg, and the 2 to 4 inch I did expand a little bit to make it out towards Hampton and Newport News. Most of Southside will end up between 2 and 4 inches. We may even overperform and end up on the higher end of that, maybe 4, 4.5, 5 inches in some spots. Again, it's very easy when you've got this very fluffy type of snow that will pile up quickly and we're not losing any of it to the melting. And you see that bullseye there that's extending through most of the Albemarle, 4 to 6 inches there. Some areas could even see higher than that since it has been snowing in some of those spots now for several hours, and it will be the last areas to see the snow end. So the longest duration window of accumulating snows happening in northeastern North Carolina and down through the Outer Banks. So again, an unusual snow event for these areas to see that much snow when it's usually areas farther inland. So again, here's a look at radar for you. While that's running, I'm gonna look and see what we've got here in terms of any of you sending in your reports. Again, if you're tuning in on my Facebook page, I did put a post up about this stream and asking if you could put your reports in there, your observations, and we can talk about them here on the stream right now. Here we go, right at 9 o'clock. Patricia Anderson, you posted a photo. I have no idea where it is, though. Snow-covered ground there. Denby, Beth. Denby near the airport. It's been snowing since around 7:30. Thank you, Beth. Susan Weaver-Erickson, dusting on all surfaces. Glendale, neighborhood of Newport News at 9 o'clock. Cheryl McLaughlin, it's snowing pretty hard in Elizabeth City, has been for about an hour. Cheryl, if you are watching, I'm interested to hear if you saw higher snowfall rates over the last hour with that heavier band lifting on through your area, and how much is actually on the ground. You said it's been snowing pretty hard, but how much is on the ground for you there? Sandy Burr, snowing in Chicks Beach. Stacy Adkins bonds to the kids, already making snow angels at her court. Snowing in Virginia Beach, Tammy Berkebile, thank you. Snowing in Blackwater, Jill Teeter. Kempsville snowing, Sheila Adams. Central Chesapeake, Akimi. A few small flakes here in Great Neck, Virginia Beach. All right, great. Appreciate the reports. Keep them coming in. This is great because, again, you really help us tell the weather story here. So you are eyeballs out there. I can't be everywhere. I've got radar here, but as I mentioned, with this type of setup, with the dry air in spots, we really can't validate everything that's going on without ground clearance. Let's go and look at some cameras now. Steve, if you can pull up our station camera here on our tower right in downtown Norfolk, you can see visibilities have really dropped off. Our snowfall rates have picked up. The bottom left there of your screen is Brambleton Avenue that is now snow covered. You can see there are cars moving slowly there. Now keep in mind, it is a light, dry, powdery type of snow, but cars driving over the snow on the roadways will compact it and eventually develop a sheet of ice. Roads will be slippery. VDOT and area municipalities have been out treating the roads, pre-treating with brine, but that can only do so much. And a lot of times when you get the air temperatures this cold, it can be rendered ineffective. We've got air temperatures in the upper teens right now, lower 20s. So it's not even borderline, cold enough for snow. It is very cold for snow. And some of you have even said, I'll bring this up and address it. Could it be too cold to snow? It's not necessarily ever too cold to snow. It's that when an air mass is very, very cold, it typically has Arctic origins, and Arctic air, a characteristic of it is to be extremely dry. So that's like we saw with this current setup. We had an Arctic air mass with very low dew points. Earlier today, some spots had below 0 dew points. Air was extremely dry, but it did moisten up very, very quickly at all levels, allowing the snow to now reach the ground. And in a lot of areas, it is starting to accumulate and accumulate quickly. We've got that heavier snow band. It almost looks like that band, Steve, we go back over to radar, is almost expanding a little bit. So areas through south side, northeastern North Carolina, I'm feeling very confident about our snowfall map here, with areas verifying with 2 to 4 inches and locally higher, 4 to 6 out in the areas down through the Outer Banks and northeastern North Carolina, Perquimans, Currituck, out by Elizabeth City, Dare County. All going to see some high snow totals by the time all is said and done, again, because it's so fluffy. Let's look at some other cameras here. Let's go to the Jordan Bridge, Steve. Look at this one, visibilities. Well, that's a lot of the snow. We'll pull that one up here in a second. There it is. You can see that's just the snowflakes kind of getting on the camera lens there. I can't tell you. If you look at the bottom, you can see there's a snow cover there, and visibilities are rather low. Let's go. Let me check out what the DQ camera looks like. Yeah, if we can go to that one, Steve. This is out at the ocean front of the DQ. And it does look like it's also snowing at the ocean front there. You can see some a light dusting on the sidewalk there and the boardwalk out at the ocean front. And in the foreground there, you can see, well, it looks like actually in the background, you can see some snow maybe even accumulating on the sand there out at the beach. So that's going to be an interesting sight tomorrow. You don't usually see that too often. Let's see what the Nauticus cameras are looking like here. Let's go, Steve, we can go to Nauticus 2. This is right down the road here from our station in downtown Norfolk over at Nauticus at the cruise terminal. You can see visibilities are lower. You see the lights illuminated by the cranes over there at the ship builders area over there. Past the Wisconsin, yeah. And those cranes usually you can see pretty clearly. Visibilities have diminished. I'd say we're probably looking at visibilities below a half mile to a mile. That's because that snow intensity is really starting to pick up, which is very interesting. The other Nauticus camera, yeah, let's switch it up to the other Nauticus camera, Steve. That one is just turning the other way, looking over the Elizabeth River across to, usually you can see a clear image of Portsmouth there, the Portsmouth Naval Hospital. You can see it there, but certainly it's reduced visibility out over the river with the heavier snow now beginning to lift on through. Let's look and see the Weston camera. Yeah, Steve, let's go Weston south. This is a great thing. So this is on top of the I forget which building this is at the west. Well, it's on the Weston, obviously. Looking south, and you can see the roadways down there are covered with snow. And you can even see illuminated by what little light there is up there on the top of the building that you can see the snow coming on down, and visibilities have greatly reduced in that area as well. So snow is really piling on up. Let's go back over to radar. You can see here, again, a loop of 2 hours showing the snow that started off very hit or miss, very light, has been increasing in intensity through most of Southside, northeastern North Carolina. Let's see if we've gotten any more people chiming in on our chat here on my Facebook page. We do, significantly more. Let's see. Robbie Belch, 9:15, half inch of snow in Williamsburg near William and Mary. Thank you, Robbie. Mary Magnus, it's snowing in Deep Creek, a picture as well. Yeah, it looks like streets are covered there. Great, thank you so much for the report, Mary. D. Warden, Camden, North Carolina, about 30 minutes after the snow started. The back deck is covered. It looks like maybe a half an inch there. D, if you're still watching, let me know how much you think that is. Carson McConnell, snowing near Mount Trashmore. Brian Miller, snowing moderate for 2 hours now in Newport News. Patricia, yep, there's Patricia again. Okay, yeah, so several more reports. Again, if you were watching and you got Facebook, go over to my Facebook page. I've got a post up there that's talking about this stream. And if you can write in there what you're seeing at your back door or your front door, whichever door you want to look out of, or your window, and let me know. And if you can venture outside, I know it's super cold. In fact, let's look at these temperatures because these are something else that's very rare. Look at this. We're at 20 degrees out at Virginia Beach, 16 at Melfa right now. It is very, very cold, and add in a light breeze, and we've got wind chills in the lower teens, lower to middle teens there. Something to take note here. You see on the right-hand column there in the brown, those are our dew points. They have come up dramatically. Look at Norfolk. It's at 18 right now. The difference between the temperature and the dew point is something called the dew point depression. The lower that number, the dew point depression, the more moist the atmosphere is. So the difference between right now, the dew point depression in Norfolk is now down to 5 degrees. Earlier it was about 15 degrees. So that lower number tells us the air is now more saturated, which is why the snow is reaching the ground. And this is exactly what models were pointing to. We were going to moisten up really fast and see that snow reach the ground. Look at some other areas here. Hampton, 20 degrees with a dew point of 15, also a 5-degree dew point depression, a 4-degree dew point depression at Newport News. Same out at Melfa, 4 degrees, 5 degrees at Elizabeth City, and only 3 degrees out at Mania, where it has been snowing for a lot longer. What's interesting out of Virginia Beach, that's the reading at Oceana. It's interesting that it's only still at 10, even though they are reporting snow there. So I bet the next hourly update will show a big increase in that dew point as well, because we are seeing snow on the ground in areas of Virginia Beach, just north of Oceana, out in the Great Neck and Little Neck area there. All right, again over to radar. You can see that it's not even narrow, really. It's a larger band that, if you look at it over the last 2 hours, has started off narrow and has been expanding as it's trying to build its way in the south side. And it's been making pretty good headway. And I bet it will make it all the way through Norfolk and even over towards Suffolk or north side Suffolk within the next couple of hours, as that's the general trend here. And it does pretty much orient itself from the southwest to the north and east with a general northerly push. Now, the back edge of the snow that started off almost in Louisa County which is about 50 to 75 miles farther north and west than where it was supposed to be. Okay, so the storm was already verified farther northwest, which has implications, of course, on us here, because we were on the edge of this to start off, right? So that's why our snow totals started off rather low, our forecast at least, 1 to 2 inches with some higher totals near the coast. Now we've actually doubled that. We're 2 to 4. In fact, let me show you our brand new numbers here if you're just joining us. They're not really brand new. I did expand this area a little bit more, like the 1 inch up towards almost Richmond, the east side. And 2 to 4 inches, that large swath, interior North Carolina, most of south side, even the southern tip of the peninsula could see 2 to 4 inches before all is said and done. Southern tip of the eastern shore, same sort of deal. And northeastern North Carolina, a general 4 to 6. But honestly, I think some areas could exceed that with that light, fluffy, low moisture content, snow consistency. There's just a lot of snow that will come out of this. We're almost getting the biggest bang for our buck, if you will. We've got the least amount of moisture, but we're getting the most snow out of that moisture that you possibly can, especially at this latitude. You typically would see this much farther to the north. When you've got such low temperatures, such low dew points, you get those high snow ratios. But down here, usually we're right around that 1 to 10 ratio because we've got that rain-snow line to always deal with, or the sleet. We're not dealing with that this time around. In fact, if you remember, if you're a frequent streamer with us, was it last week when we had our other snow chance, I was using a tool here, let me see if I can, there it is, that we usually use for tornadoes, severe weather. It's called, well, you have it on here, it's called debris detection. And basically what this is, the actual term for this filter on radar is correlation coefficient. And basically what this is doing, it's identifying hydrometeors, which is types of precipitation or anything else that's airborne. It's locating all of those that look similar and coding them in a color that's all, the same. And it will highlight things that shouldn't be there with bright signatures. So that's how we can kind of detect where there are debris balls or debris that's lofted in the air from a straight line wind event or a tornadic event, things like that. So the best use is during that. But it has a side use or a side effect, if you will. And that is to detect when we see sleet changeover. And we had it, I wish I could go all the way back to that, but I can't. I posted on my Facebook page when we had it, is that we were able to find a slug of mid-level air that was warm enough to melt the snowflake, and then it was refreezing before it hit the surface as a sleet pellet. And it was very obvious on the correlation coefficient. But I just want to show you this because right now we don't have any of that. Everything is that maroon color, meaning everything is falling as snow. And I don't expect it to change. I expect it to be a complete snow event for all of us, and that snow will add up for all of us, I think, because, we got that snow line that made it all the way up to Richmond. So at least all of Hampton Roads saw some snow. Others will see a lot. Some will see very little. The highest totals this go around will be to the south and east. You can see, again, radar loop here. Let me check one more time what we got going on here on Facebook. Yeah, we got a few more people writing in. Appreciate each and every one of you that are chiming in here. Oh, great picture from Beth Chastain Bayview in Norfolk. Cars covered, roads are covered there. Oh, Cheryl chimed back in. Cheryl's watching. Cheryl McLaughlin, Elizabeth City, 45 minutes ago, about a half an inch at that point. Susan Weaver, dusting on all surfaces, Glendale neighborhood of Newport News. Okay, that's the latest there. Let's see if we got any other reports on some of my other posts. Looks like we've got Joanne at 920, Elizabeth City, just about a half an inch of snow so far. Terry Phillips, 910 Franklin, Virginia, looks like a coating on the grassy surfaces. Oh, this is interesting. Remember how we just talked about the Virginia Beach observation showing a 10-degree dew point and a 20-degree temperature? Tracy White just posted about 6 minutes ago, 9:18, a picture from Oceana with snow on the ground. So it is snowing there at Oceana. Snowing in Red Mill, Lisa Allen. And the court is covered, driveway covered, but not the grass just yet. Colonial Heights, Virginia, it's snowing. Snowing in Grape Ridge by Mount Pleasant Road. Pamela says it's snowing near the Lynn Haven Mall in Virginia Beach. Hosky, it started snowing about 8 o'clock. Appreciate all of these updates, honestly, guys. It really helps us validate what's going on. Steve, let's go back over to west and south. The Skyview camera there. You can see, if you look closely, you can see the snow has really picked up in intensity there. So this is Virginia Beach Town Center. And I'd say moderate to maybe heavy snow. And if you look below, you can see the roads are snow covered. Traffic is definitely taking it slower. This type of scenario, too, with a light powdery type of snow, cars driving over it, compacting it, forcing it into all of the cracks on the roads, you're going to have a very fine layer of ice, even if the streets are brined, because we're at temperatures right now that they're, possibly ineffective. So the snow is definitely accumulating on roadways. That brine is meant to limit the binding between the ice and the roadways, but we'll see if that helps. But we're going to look at several more inches and several more hours of moderate snowfall here coming on through, especially south side and northeastern North Carolina. Let me see what the other cameras are looking like, Steve, before we pop over to them. You can go over to west and north. And I believe if this had better visibility, I think this is turned towards Mount Trashmore. I can't tell. It's usually facing north, but not sure which direction this has been turned to. But the visibility is definitely greatly reduced. Just the other side of the west in there, heading facing north. Roadways obviously are covered as well. Back over to Nauticus in Norfolk here. Yeah, those are actually, let's see what this one was. Yeah, if you go over to just the Nauticus cam, Steve, that looks over the Elizabeth River, the other Nauticus one. If you look on the bottom of your screen, folks, you see the lights there, the street lights illuminating, and you could see the snow. The intensity there has definitely picked up, and visibilities are much lower. That's across the Elizabeth River over towards Portsmouth, and usually being able to see the Naval Hospital there. Here's a cool sight out at the beach cam, Steve. We've got snow there, and you can see that it is snowing at the ocean front. Boardwalk does have some snow on it, and even you can tell that the sand is starting to get a little bit more of a white tint to it, indicating accumulating snows in that area as well. We'll end this little tour here on our sky views back over to our tower cam here in downtown Norfolk, because we visited this just about 10 minutes ago. If we go to our tower cam, there it is. So you see Brambleton on the bottom left. That earlier we were able to see kind of where the cars were traveling and the center of the road wasn't snow covered. It's completely snow covered now. So snow rates have picked up in these areas, and I would expect that to last for several hours. So this is the window that's opening up for our highest snowfall rates, folks. So we're going to pick up several inches of that fluffy, powdery type of snow tomorrow morning when you wake up. The snow will likely be gone. In fact, let's walk through Futurecast. I haven't done that yet. Let's go ahead and look at this. So what I'm using here are our high-resolution short range. So this is called the HRRR. Now, this refreshes every hour. So it's great. So it's always giving us updated information. So when I look for models to show, I look at what the first initialization, the first image of the model is, and then compare it to what live radar is to see if the model is getting a handle on what's happening now. Because if it's off on what's going on now, it's probably not going to be right for the future. So the HRRR, if you looked at our radar that we were just looking at, pretty similar. The only difference here is that the far northwestern edge is a little too far northwest. That's a minor thing. But here's how it watches as things play out going on through 11 o'clock. We start to see that northwest reach begin to push its way southeastwards, but still moderate snow all across the area here. It maintains moderate to heavy snow through 1, 2, 3 o'clock. I think that by 4 to 5 a.m., we're going to begin to see the snow really come to an end. Maybe still some light lingering snow in far southeastern Virginia, northeastern North Carolina by sunup, but I think for most of us, we'll see the accumulating snow window really beginning to close. And then, of course, by mid-morning, it's all gone. We are blustery, and we are very, very cold tomorrow. We're going to go for our second day in a row of seeing air temperatures that will be in the 20s. In fact, here's the forecast again for tomorrow: 25. Today we only made it up to 27. Coldest day in over 2 years. Last time we had highs in the 20s was Christmas Eve of 2022. So we'll do it for 2 days in a row. Tomorrow, 25 for the high. Keep in mind as well, with a snowpack, tomorrow night, with clear skies, lighter winds by that point. That snowpack will probably keep temperatures about 5 degrees colder than what models are suggesting. So exceptionally cold. I would say we'll probably be down in the mid-teens by early Thursday morning with a snowpack. On top of that, let's talk briefly about what wind chills could look like. Let's go ahead to tomorrow morning, 7:45. Here's what it may feel like outside. And I think this is a pretty good bet. Feeling as cold as 9 out at Norfolk, 6 at Melfa, 11 at Newport News, 10 out at Chesapeake, and even through the day. I mean, here we are at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We've still got, feels like temperatures in the lower teens. It's feeling like 10 at 1 o'clock out at Norfolk. Excuse me. 11 degrees out at Virginia Beach. So just a very wintry setup here. And, if you've been thinking, this January has been mighty cold. About a week ago, I was looking back and I wonder if we are in, top 10 coldest territory for this January. We weren't. So we've had plenty of cold Januaries, but once we get closer to the end of the month, I'll look back and see, this is probably one of the coldest Januaries, at least in years. It might not be one of the top 10 coldest, but probably in most recent years, it's definitely colder. And especially compared to last year, definitely colder than that. But yeah, here's a look at radar as we wrap things up around 9:30 now. Wow, that 30 minutes went by fast, huh? Let me check and see if anybody else has chimed in. Love to hear from you folks. If you're watching this evening and you're just, I don't know, maybe you got yourself a hot cocoa. Maybe you poured yourself a little bit of something extra in that hot cocoa. Power to you. You're just enjoying the snow. Most of you will probably have a snow day tomorrow. If you're lucky enough, maybe your employer is going to work from home type of day tomorrow for you. But here we go. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we got a couple more people chiming in. All right. It's snowing pretty hard here in New Hope, North Carolina, on the Albemarle Sound, about a ½ inch in the past hour. Dale Amy. John Schultz, Virginia Beach on border of Norfolk. Dew point on my weather station that much closer to the actual temp. Okay. So it's probably got snowfall in there. Let's see. Portsmouth, Tanya Edwards, snow-covered ground there. Morgan Conley sticking to the roads and has been coming down steadily in Norfolk. North Foxhall near Norfolk International. Beth, Bayview in Norfolk, snow-covered ground there. I was thinking about just walking outside and seeing if it was snowing here, but we tried it before we went live, and my mic doesn't work when I walk outside. So unfortunately, I can't do that. But we got a live look here from our tower cam, Steve. If we want to go back over to that, that's pretty much what we're seeing outside our door here. Visibilities are lower. You can see traffic moving slow. We've got now completely snow-covered Brambleton Avenue there. And the snow will continue to be flying for the next several hours, folks. We're looking at those snowfall totals to be, this isn't a blockbuster snow event, but I think it'll be plowable. It'll be shovelable, if that's a word. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's not going to be the best snowball fight, snowman type of event. But, hey, I tell you what, we haven't had more than a couple of inches since 2022, and that's when we started that snow drought. Which we just broke, a week and a half ago, when we got that 1.3 inches out at Norfolk. And a lot of Southside got nothing. So this is going to be a much better storm for more of our viewers, which is great. And I even saw a few people post, such kind people out on the peninsula saying, we've had enough snow this winter. You guys can have some in Southside and northeastern North Carolina. So they're willing to share with us, which is great. So growing up in Connecticut, I love snow. Hurricanes first love, snowstorms second. But this is truly a fun event to forecast, and as a forecaster, it's exciting. I don't know, maybe you're able to tell my excitement on air that I get all, can't even sleep. It's so exciting. It's like a kid on Christmas morning type of thing. But we've got the snow coming on down, and I'm feeling good about our snow totals by tomorrow morning. Again, I appreciate you joining us on the stream. We kind of talk through what's going on and give you some live current conditions so you're up to date before you head to bed. And out the door tomorrow morning, expect several inches of snow in Southside, northeastern North Carolina. It's going to be exceptionally cold tomorrow as well. So just as cold as today, if not a little bit colder. And we'll have the winds up tomorrow too. As this storm system departs, winds will come in a little bit stronger out of the north. So those wind chill values will be a little bit more nippy. So that's the latest from me, folks. I hope you have a great rest of your night. I hope you enjoy the snow. I hope you're able to enjoy the snow. I know as adults it's a little bit harder with responsibilities, but many school districts have already called it the day for tomorrow. So hopefully you can join it with your kids. It's going to be great sledding snow, FYI. So if you can do that, enjoy it, be safe, and I'll check you back here on the TV side at 11 o'clock this evening for 13 News Now at 11 with myself and Dana Smith. And if we need to do another stream after that, I'm going to be here till 2 a.m., and I'll keep you updated. Have a great night.